Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Unzipped, and today I have my guest, Mason, all the way from Cali.
Hey guys.
And his Twitter is First Gentleman, and his IG is Mr. Freemason, in case you want to hit that follow after, the video. And today's topic is toxic relationships. Have you been in one? Are you the toxic person in the relationship? We'll find out today. And what is a toxic relationship? Well, basically a toxic relationship is when you're involved. It can be a friendship, it can be a relationship as in your partner, it can be a family member who can be abusing you mentally. It can also lead to physical abuse as well. And that's what we'll be talking about today. So, Mr. Mason, well, Mr. Freemason, according to your Instagram, have you been a part of a toxic relationship?
I have been in some relationships that had toxic elements, yes. I wouldn't say the whole thing was toxic, but it definitely had parts where it was toxic.
What were those bits and pieces that you would consider toxic, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure, I'll just dive into one in particular.
I want it all.
I was in a relationship with someone, and there were some mental health issues, but that's not what made it toxic. It was the lead up and then afterwards. And I'll say it was toxic for me because I was trying to make things better, and ultimately it was just really making things worse for the relationship and for each other. And it just wasn't healthy for either one of us. It became like a drain on our energy, and I think that's one of the hallmark signs of a toxic relationship is when you don't feel good about yourself, you don't feel good about each other, you don't feel good about the relationship. Just being together kind of sucks your energy. So that space was a really trying time for me. And then once it was over, it was like, oh, I feel better about life. Everything is great.
You got rid of the dead weight.
and like, we're cool today. We talk. Life is like, we're great. Like, how are you? How's life? What's going on? You dating somebody? And then everything is like great. We're great apart, but together we were just like dragging each other down. Oof. And it was really terrible.
And does he know that he was kind of toxic? Did you?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we've like on the outside of it, we've talked about it. We've talked about what went wrong, what were the warning signs, what we could have avoided, what we should have done, what we didn't do. And I think that now, like, we're separate and we're separated from each other, and it's been enough time to kind of like heal and process and deal with all that stuff. We can look back, we can reflect, and like, you know what, we were terrible to each other, but we had fun.
No, but listen, I will say that I'm not gonna be that person who was like, oh my god, yeah, toxic relationships was like so much fun and I love them. No, I mean, I do tend to feel that I'm not gonna say in most, but in some relationships that have toxic elements to it, they aren't always 100% toxic. So there are times where, there are good times, and that kind of makes you kind of want to stay in that atmosphere. Like, okay, but you know what? He only does this, or so-and-so does that, and you know what? I can kind of deal with it until you can't really deal with it anymore. And it's kind of just like, so what are we going to do? What's the exit strategy now? Sorry. Got a little tongue-tied there. But I don't know, for me personally, I will say that I've been a part of toxic relationships. I will also claim responsibility for also probably being one of the toxic elements in my relationship.
Oh, really?
Yes, I will say that. Listen, honesty hour, right? I will say that I don't consider myself to be like a super toxic person. Just in general, I don't think I'm a toxic person. But in certain situations, I don't think that my best personality traits have come to the forefront, have come out to play. So, at least for me, I will say, I've dealt with toxic friendships, I've dealt with toxic partners. I think to a certain level, I've also dealt with toxic family members, and I don't want to throw the stones at my family, but I do feel that there's certain relationships when it comes to family that can be toxic, and I feel that my mother and I definitely did benefit from therapy, because I do feel that her and I had a toxic relationship, even though I was very spoiled as a child and she was there for me in more ways than I can ever count. But there's still some toxic elements to it. But I feel every parent-child relationship has like a little drops of toxicness to it. So I don't think that that's out of the norm. Sorry, you were saying something.
As far as family members and toxic goes, I think that, like you said, there are elements, there are things that you have to kind of unlearn, and you have to say, okay, well, this doesn't work for me as an adult, or this may have worked when I was a child, but now I don't need that anymore. And that's when things become toxic. I think that some things are not necessarily bad on their own, but when they've outgrown their usefulness or their purposefulness, then it becomes toxic. And those are those elements in a relationship, like, oh yeah, it was great that we were spending every minute of the day together, but now I have all these other things to do and I can't do that, and now this has become toxic, right? There's nothing wrong with us spending a lot of time together, but when I have other priorities and other things to do and you won't let me do those things, and it's a problem, then it becomes toxic.
And I would say that, you know, a lot of those situations can be resolved with effective communication, but I feel like that's one of the elements that are always missing when it comes to toxic relationships. That is always one of the partners, or even sometimes both of you guys, that aren't able to communicate their points, you know, in a healthy manner, and then everything kind of gets lost in translation, and then people start to act out. Because I know, like, for example, like, again, using myself, I'm one of those people where, like, at least in the very beginning, oh, sorry, I got something just flew by, and I was like, what the fuck was that? Ooh, I'm gonna have to edit that out, sorry. Ooh, rewind. Like I was saying, for myself, I know that in the very beginning, especially when I really like someone, because I do feel that different situations call for different reactions. I can be a little clingy, especially when I do like the person, and I do like to not to make myself available, but I do like, listen, I'm trying to get to know you, and you only get to know somebody through spending time. So I tend to be that person where I'm like, you know, hey, let's do something, and then it just kind of migrates into, wow, it's been 2-3 days. So if you're not going to text me, I'm not going to text you. And I feel like see, and to me, it may not be to anyone else, but to me, I feel like it's kind of toxic, because you start to fall into those, I call them like the mind games of, oh, if you don't text me, I won't text you, or me, or it'll be even myself, like, oh, well, you know what, it's been 2 days and I didn't text him, so you know what, well, I guess I'm not going to text, you know, he has to text me, so fuck him. And then it'll just be like, well, why didn't you just pick up the phone and just be like, hey, what have you been up to?
But in those same moments, you could have done the same thing. And so those are the things that I look for in myself sometimes when I'm in that good space where I can think clearly, because I do the same thing. It's like, well, how come you didn't hit me up? How come I haven't heard from you? Well, I didn't text you either. I didn't call you either. So it's a two-way street. My phone receives calls and it makes calls. It can go either way. And so the toxic part is when you're always pointing the finger and not, checking yourself sometimes.
And it also comes up when it comes to like social media as well, because like one of those infamous topics, is like ghosting, which is, I guess, a toxic trait. People like to say that it is.
I don't agree with that.
Woo! Shake the table.
I don't agree with that.
I mean, I have ghosted, so I can't sit here and pretend like I've perpetrated the action. I've been a victim of the action. So to me, I feel like when I do it, I'm always like, oh, like I always make 1,001 excuses as for why I ghosted someone. And it's kind of like, well, why don't you just give those excuses to the person instead of just ghosting them? But then at the same time, I'm like, well, I don't feel like I owed them an explanation. But sometimes I feel like it would be nice. I mean, I would like an explanation.
Okay, I agree with you. Like, I would like explanations sometimes. But in reality and in the long run, it doesn't change anything. So for me, I have to remind myself. So even if you told me, let's say it was you and I, and you just up and ghosted me, And I'm like, well, I want to know what happened. I want to know why. I want to know why. And if you're like, oh, well, I found the love of my life and I had no reason to call you back, like, that's not going to change anything for me. It's not going to mean that, you know, I have any closure. It's not going to help me process anything. Like, having a reason isn't going to change the fact that you did not respond to me or that you ghosted me. And it's not going to make me feel warm and fuzzy inside. It's not going to be like, oh, okay, wow, you really ghosted me because you didn't like me. That makes me feel a whole lot better. Like, there's... It doesn't do anything. It's a mental thing. Like, you think you want, or at least I'll say, in those moments, I think I want that information because I think that would help me process it. But if I just can create a reason in my head and say, okay, well, they didn't respond to me because they didn't like me, that's the same thing. Like, if someone's saying, oh, I didn't like you, so I didn't text you back, that would hurt more than them not responding.
But what about when it's something more long term though? Like, let's say, because I feel like that would work out if, let's say, you know, you kind of randomly met somewhere, you exchange numbers, and you guys are like now in communication, and then it's kind of like, okay, well, you know what? He was cute, but the personality is not there, or maybe the personality was there, but you know what? I can't get over the looks, or whatever fucking excuse you want to make up in your mind, and then fine. But what happens when you guys have gone on like multiple dates, and then it's kind of just went from, oh hey, text me when you get home, hope you get home safe, and the next thing you know, it's just woof, gone with the wind.
Well, they just disappeared. They either died. That's fine. Rest in peace. And I have to go on about my life.
It's
I'm
funny
not
you
gonna
say
sit here and waste my time trying to figure out what happened to you. Like, if you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. Like, I don't need to know any other reason than you did not respond to me. I always say that no response is a response.
This is true.
If you did not respond to me, if you didn't text me back, if you haven't called me in 5 days, if you haven't whatever, that has all the information that I need to know.
Boop. I mean, I'm a firm believer of no response being a response within itself. But then I always I always say that I always put these people in the iffy category because I always find it really funny how when in my mind, I'm like, okay, you know what? It's whatever. We haven't spoken in a couple of days. It's done. Maybe, you know, you met somebody else, or maybe you were talking to somebody before me and that became serious. Because again, I always tell people, it may not have nothing to do with you whatsoever. So sometimes you don't even have to put that into your mind. It could just be, listen, it could be a 1,000 reasons as for why they ghosted you that had nothing to do with you. So I kind of like, okay, whatever. And then they want to come and make a resurgence afterwards. Like, oh, hey, we haven't spoken in a while. I missed you. Or I was really interested in you. Okay, so then how did we end up here? So that's what I want to ask. Like, so, okay, so if you were interested, how did we end up here? Like, why are we here now? 2 weeks later, no communication. And all of a sudden it's, hey, I've been thinking about you. No, I don't want you thinking about me.
But even then, I don't hold that against people. Because sometimes it'd be like, oh, hey, you're back. But they don't necessarily carry the same weight, the same seriousness. Because like you said,
the
you
door
can come back
is
and be like,
closed.
okay, well, this is what happened. The cat could have like died or something, and like, oh, I was in a bad space. I'm going through depression. And came back to the topic. You know, I'm holding people to these impulse standards and not give them grace and not giving them space to be like, hey, you know, my uncle died and I just didn't have this bandwidth to talk about with you right now. So I just had to like separate myself and deal with that. And I'm sorry. And boom. Okay. Sometimes that's a good excuse. And then sometimes it was like, yeah, no, I was just being a fuckboy and what's up? And let's hang out.
And I would prefer that though. I'd rather you just be like, listen, like, you know what? It kind of fell through the cracks, but I'm here now. Because listen, but
it's not the same. It's not the same. No.
No, it's not the same. But I mean, but it's up to me though. I would like, listen, be honest. But I feel like, again, it's all about communication because I've always said this. If you just want to fuck, then say you just want to fuck. If you want to date, say you want to date. If you just, listen, if you want something simple and it's just a date and a fuck, then we can do date and fucking too. But talk about it. And I just feel like, we just went on a whole tangent. About regular relationships. But that's just where I'm at with it. But do you Point blank, period.
I mean, I think it makes sense. It fits into the it fits in.
But do you
Hold
feel
on.
now?
I had to take out my AirPods because they're like dying, and then I was wondering now I can't hear. So.
That's fine. And do you feel that social media has a hand when it comes to like perpetuating toxic relationships, and also kind of putting them to the forefront? Since everybody got something to say now and something to share.
I didn't hear your question.
Oh. No,
I was like,
no, I asked. I said, do you feel that social media has kind of like an effect on toxic relationships? And also, do you feel that they've kind of brought them to the forefront now that everybody can, people can share things 24/7?
No. I think what it does is it creates this idea of what a relationship should be. And I think that is toxic, if we're going to call anything toxic. I think with social media, there's all these ideas of like, we're an Instagram couple and we have to be cute all the time. We have to take pictures and selfies and, all of this stuff. And we have to be the cute internet couple that everybody wants to be and put hearts under our pictures and be relationship goals. And then trying to live up to that status can become toxic. But I don't think that social media in and of itself is a bad thing. And I don't think that being in a relationship and being on social media makes it toxic.
Well, no, I don't think that...
people were toxic before social media was ever a thing. Like, our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, our great-grandparents, like, they had all the same issues, all the same problems, all the same stuff that we go through today. The only difference is now we can put it on, on the internet, and they were just running around town telling people at the bar or whatever.
But that's what I'm saying. But like, don't you feel that maybe social media has had an effect where it's given the public kind of like this unattainable standard for what relationships should be, and that's why people perpetuate kind of certain actions and certain behaviors that ultimately are detrimental to their relationship and cause their demise?
If you let the internet dictate your relationship, that's a problem in and of itself. Like, why are you letting pictures and people you don't know and people who have no stake in your relationship tell you how to run your relationship? That's problem number one. And if anything's toxic, that part is toxic. Like, so I'm not blaming the internet. I'm not blaming people on the internet. I'm blaming, it goes back to accountability and self. Like, am I letting this thing tell me how to run my relationship? Am I letting all these people influence my relationship? Or influence me, period. Because it may not even be the relationship.
No, you're right.
It may just be I'm insecure and I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses online because I see Hector and his boo like snapping up all these pictures, and I want to do that too because I see the likes and I see the retweets, and so I'm gonna try to do that.
Okay. I will say this. I don't think that social media is an issue. I don't think that anything ever is an issue. I think that the people who use it in a negative way are the issue. And then to kind of bring it back to like toxic relationships and social media, I feel that because of social media and because of, I guess, our easier access to celebrity, because again, us growing up, our access to celebrity was like through TV. We would see their interviews, and then if something were to blow up in their relationship, like on some left eye, like I set your house on fire, then we would know about it. But on some real shit. But other than that, you didn't really hear like, oh, you didn't hear the little nuances, the details of what was on the relationship. Like, you heard what they wanted to tell you, and now
you still don't have to hear them.
You don't. But I feel that now, because people have the ability to have that access, and because again, people are becoming famous for different reasons, not just based off of talent, that also opens the door for them because they kind of feel the necessity of kind of maintaining that interest and kind of maintaining that attention.
But here's the thing about social media. You get to choose what you put on there, right?
I agree.
People are not going to be in your business unless you put your business on there. No one will know you're in a relationship or out of a relationship or having relationship problems or having a fantastic relationship if you don't put that information on there. And the desire to put all of your personal business on the internet is the toxic part.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Because why are you doing it? You're looking for attention. You're looking for validation. You're looking for someone to idolize you. You want to make somebody else jealous. You want to be in the in crowd. You're looking to, make up for not being popular in high school or whatever the case may be. Those are the issues that you need to work with, not, and people who want to be in a relationship and constantly put their stuff on and have relationship issues. Why are you arguing on the internet? Why are you going back and forth on Twitter? Why are you posting screenshots? Why, you have the number, you know where they live. If you have an issue, deal with them. But people are not doing that because they want attention. And I think that part is, again, the toxic part. They're more interested in the show and the glitz and the glam and the attention, be it good or bad, than actually trying to resolve the issue.
And that's one of the things that kind of confuses me because, like I said again, I use social media. I post pictures and all that stuff. So, to me, it is what it is. We all do it. We all post our pictures or whatever the case may be. But my thing is why I've always felt confused as to why people need an outside validation for their relationship. At the end of the day, your relationship is between you and the person that you're in it with. So why do you feel that you need validation or you need to do something where other people notice what's going on within your relationship? So that, like you said, that right there is the problem. And that right there is the toxic part about it. So because you kind of want to perpetuate this image, and then it's again, you're posting this and putting this out there for what? And then they get upset when you have an opinion about it. It's so then why bring it out?
Right.
Why we here? Again, listen, I personally will never be the person to but to promote or say that domestic violence is okay. I don't think that, you outing your relationship business on the timeline, on social media is the way to go. I don't want to even say old school. I guess a part of my personality has always been, you don't need to know who I'm dating. You don't need to know who I'm fucking. You don't need to know what's going on with my relationship. If I don't been with somebody and broke up with them, you will never know. And that's something which is funny because I was actually talking to someone recently and I told them, I said, listen, if you go on my social media, you would have thought that I've been single since God knows when. But that's not the case. I go on dates. I've dated. I've been with people. I've dumped them. They've dumped me. And here we are, but you would never know. Why? Because that's not something I need to share. And that's not to say that these individuals have not tried to blast me on social media, because they have. They have.
Uh-oh. I must have missed that part.
I just swiftly correct those actions. Listen, I'm very quick to crawl right into your DMs and remind you that no matter what battle you choose to have with me, you're going to be on the losing end of it.
Okay, let them know. And see, that's something, I agree. I don't have those conversations on the timeline.
There's no reason. What's the point?
If you have my number, then you can contact me and we can discuss it. If you don't have my number, then we don't have beef. You just mad.
By yourself.
That's all that is.
Like the lonely girl on the fucking bus that be arguing with herself. That's you. Because if I don't know we got a beef, while we
that's
here.
it.
Boop. So now, kind of to segue into the next point, what are your thoughts about when, let's say, you're not the toxic person, you're not in a toxic situation, but your friend is? May it be that they're the victim of a toxic person, or they themselves are perpetuating toxic behavior? What do you feel is your duty as a friend in that kind of situation?
If my friend was in a toxic situation, and I've had some of those, it's really difficult to talk to people in those situations because they're so invested and they're so ingrained in it that they can't see. I had a friend who was in a relationship and he's kind of dropped out of school and he was just spending all of his time in this relationship. And the relationship was really unhealthy for both of them, actually, and it just became bad. And I was like, what are you doing? And I was trying to be Captain Save-A-Ho and try to go in and save the day. And then that made things worse between my friend and my friend's boyfriend. And I'm like, okay, so now y'all both hate me because y'all shouldn't be together in the first place. But all right, so then I'm just going to back up and I'm just going to let you guys figure that out. And eventually, it was one of those things where I'm here to support you. I'm here for you through it all. Like, you know how I feel about the situation. I'm your friend and I'm not going to turn my back on you. But I'm just going to let you go through this and figure it out on your own. And then when you realize I was right, you're going to come back and say, you're right. And I'm going to say, I told you so. Because I told you so, friend.
Yeah,
I am not the... no. I told you so.
I was going to say, you seem like an I told you so, friend.
I told you. And I would say, you remember that time we had the conversation here? I told you then. And remember the time I told you then? And I told you what was going to happen? And what happened? Exactly what I told you. So next time, when I tell you something, I have receipts. Here you go.
That's horrible for you, though. I hate the fact that you're an I told you so, friend.
I think there's power in that. I think that's really important because sometimes, I'm all that you feel lovey-dovey like, but sometimes you need people to be like, look, I've been trying to save you this entire time and you weren't listening. So it's not like, oh, I didn't know. You did know. You just chose. You made a conscious decision to avoid all logical information because you wanted to do something stupid, and that's fine. Like, own your stupidity, own the fact that you were making bad decisions. Like, yeah, I heard it and I chose to make these bad decisions by myself, and you know what, I got what I got. Okay,
in that sense, yes. Like, if you made your bad decision and now you're sitting here talking about what was me, I don't know why I did this, then in that case I understand it. But if someone was like, okay, listen, I know you gave me the advice. I didn't take it. I'm still fucked up now. I get it. But here we are. Let's just pop this bottle of wine and get over it. Then I don't need to tell you I told you so because you already know what the fuck it is.
Exactly.
But no, I don't know.
But
go ahead, sorry.
And the second part of it was, if my friend is the toxic one in a relationship, like, it's the same thing. It's like, what are you doing? You're better than this. Why are you acting like this? What is wrong with you? And sometimes relationships, be they friendships or family or whatever, they make people irrational. Like, they're not thinking clearly. And sometimes you're so invested in whatever's going on that you can't see, you can't think. You think that you're right to the detriment of everything else, right? And so... It's like, I am right, and I'm going to prove I am right if I have to burn this entire house down to show that I'm right. And that...
I feel very attacked right now during this interview, and I'm about to shut the shit down. Imagine. You'd be like, close the laptop. You'd be like, you know what, this.
But do you think that you're right, and you'll burn it all down just to prove that you're right?
Okay. In my defense, I will say this. If I am like 200% secure that I am right, I did my research, I have my receipts, oh bitch, I'm gonna burn this whole shit to the ground. Because I'm gonna stand where I stand because I have everything behind me. But I will say, if I am wrong and you correct me and you bring me receipts and you're like, listen, Hector, this is what it is, I will acknowledge it and I will be like, you know what? You are right. I am wrong. And I will stand corrected because I'm human. I know, listen, I know I have my faults. I know I can be wrong. And that brings, it comes to that point where, just to kind of like answer my own question back for myself, I guess. When I've been in situations where I've had toxic friends who are perpetuating toxic behaviors, and I have to be the voice of reason. I know it's hard for people to believe that I can be the voice of reason, but I can be. And my thing is, I call them two reactions, but there's obviously more than two. But you get the reaction of, okay, you know what, you have valid points. And whether they take the advice or not, because like I said again, I'm not here to force anyone to take my advice. I'll give it to you. If you want to listen, you listen. And if you don't, hey, we'll get drunk and cry about it later. Or you'll get the friend who wants to turn that same toxic energy now onto you. And you're like, okay, wait, pause. This is not what we're doing.
Right.
No. And I personally, and again, this is the Sag energy crawling out of me, I will cut you off. I don't have a problem closing the door, letting you frolic in your bullshit. And once you're done, if you want to come back and be like, you know what? You were right. Listen, we could kiki about it, go to dinner, have a drink.
Right.
Be all about it. Will I extend to you the same courtesy if you are going back to the same bullshit and now you're back coming to me again for advice? No. I'm not doing it. Mm-hmm. I'm not sitting here with you. I'm not crying with you. I'm not giving you no kind of advice. You're going to text me and you'll get a simple, oh, well, I hope you feel better.
That part.
I can't give you more than that. That's all you're getting from me. Hope you feel better. And if my friend is a victim of toxicness in his relationship, I feel that everyone who follows me on social media knows that that person will be catching hands, and I may be in handcuffs by the end of the night because I do fight, and I will fight for my friends. Okay. And that's that on that.
See, that's the two-part thing. If it's a friend who's in a toxic relationship and it goes south, yeah, I'm going to jump in and defend my friend.
Yeah.
Now, if my friend goes back into that toxic relationship, now me and my friend got beef.
Oh, yeah.
Now I got to beat you up.
Well, I'm not gonna fight my friend, but I will give you that cold energy of, wow, I haven't seen Hector in a couple of months. Yeah, bitch, because I fought somebody for you, and you went right back.
All of my fights have been defending my friends, so I am a peaceful person, except for when someone's messing with my friends, and then I have to fight.
I too would like to claim that same energy, but I feel like someone's going to probably crawl into my comments or my mentions and call me a lie. So I'm going to plead the fifth and just say that some of my fights, maybe the vast majority of them, have been defending my friends.
Well, you know, I think that you're a fighter and you're violent. We've had this conversation before.
You said what?
I said we've had these conversations about your fights before.
But see, you always like to throw the blame on me, and you're never really there for the other side. So I don't know, like, I don't trust you. You always try to make me out to be the villain, no matter what the situation is.
Because you usually are the villain.
I am not.
I mean, I'm just a very, but you're still the villain nonetheless.
It is not my fault that I'm a very opinionated person, and people take my opinions to be shade or to be an insult, when it's not. They're simply objective observations. And that's my truth, and I'm sticking to it. Okay.
Okay.
Listen. And listen, I already caught to the fact that I can be toxic. I know that I have perpetuated toxic behaviors in the past.
Like what?
I'm a new person. You know, it is 2020. We're moving on to bigger and better things. We're perpetuating better behavior. Yeah, we're grown on this side of 2020. You know, during the era of COVID. But I will say, like I said, I do take ownership. I do know that there have been situations where I've needed to have my ear yanked and get corrected. And I've had to correct myself. You know, and I've also, like I said again, I've also been... I won't say that I'm a toxic friend, but I have found myself in situations with friends where we've kind of been repeating the same cycle of behavior where it may turn into, like, I don't know if you've ever had friendships where you know, you kind of get into arguments.
Ooh. Sorry, I'm here. Sorry, I had to slide over to grab something.
Okay. Did you have to go slide over to grab your liquor? Mm-hmm. But no, like I was saying, you know, I won't say that I'm a toxic friend, but I have been in friendships where I don't see eye to eye with friends, in the sense of just philosophical differences. And, you know, I'm very passionate when I have arguments and debates. I will say that I'm extremely passionate. People take my passion to be, you know, a little bit aggressive. It's not like listen, I feel like aggressiveness is when you're when you're giving off violent energy. I don't feel like I'm a violent person. So I don't feel that I'm aggressive. I do feel that maybe I can be passionate in my arguments. I can, you know, feel that I may be right even when I'm wrong, which causes me to have, you know, erroneous opinions, which is fine because we all have those. None of us are perfect. And like I said, it is what it is. But I also can be the bigger person because I will say this. In my defense, I will pick up my phone. I will say, hey, listen, I want to have a conversation. I feel that I acted out. I feel like I acted wrong. I want to apologize. I want to make it right. So I am that person. Like, you never have to fight me for an apology. I will always give you an apology. I'm always open for conversation. I'm always here to educate myself, educate you, educate everyone.
I'm like you. I don't have a problem apologizing when I'm wrong. I also don't have a problem.
You have to admit that you're wrong first, though, Mason. That's part of it.
If I'm wrong, which rarely happens, I apologize.
See? How hard? When was the last time you apologized, Mason? Don't worry, you don't have to lie for the camera. I'll make sure to edit this part out.
No, but if I'm seriously wrong about something, then I'll go back and say, you know what, you were right.
Okay, so when was the last time?
But I'm not wrong about things because I don't like being wrong. So I make sure that I'm right before I say something so that I don't have to go back and apologize. What I'm usually apologizing for is like going off on somebody. Because I get mad very easily, but I don't stay mad long. So ooh. I may say something in the moment and be like, all right, I'm over it. And then 5 minutes later, they're still mad. I'm like, you still mad about that? Sorry.
I'm like that too. Like I get like I'll go 0 to 1,000, and then 5 minutes later, a drink later, I'm like, so who was arguing? Why? Wasn't me. It's what it is. But I think it's safe to conclude the show here. I want to thank you for being a guest on Unzipped. Finally, after 3 fucking years, right?
I know, it took forever.
It took COVID and Zoom. There you go.
We could have done this 3 years ago.
We could have, but Skype be freezing, so.
True.
No, I'm kidding. But honestly, I do want to thank you for being on the show and for joining me for this topic. And are there any parting words you would like to share with the Unzippers?
As far as toxic relationships go, get out. If you feel it's unhealthy, if you feel that it is bad, dump them. Dump your friends, dump your family, dump your boyfriend, dump your girlfriend. If it's toxic, if it's not healthy for you, get out. So those are my parting words.
I will say this, because I have had several years of religious education. I won't name the religion because I don't want to get attacked in my comments. But I will say this. I forgot what the fuck I was gonna say. Damn, I was cracking a joke. That's what happens. Oh, there we go. It came back. No, I was gonna say there's a text in the Bible that does say that if your eye isn't serving you, to pluck out your eye. If your arm isn't serving you, cut off your arm. And I feel that that's very, not to say that you have to go out here and cut people, but what I will say is that it does apply in the sense of, if you do feel that your relationships aren't building you, they aren't helping you, because, like I said again, relationships don't necessarily have to be beneficial in the sense of, you don't have to go into a thing okay, this person has this and I want this for them to help me. No. But at the end of the day, I do feel that the people around you should help you be a better person, should help when you're wrong, tell you you're wrong, and help you become a better person, and to find those healthy spaces in your life. So I will say that if your friends are not serving you, if your man is not serving you, if your family is not serving you, if your friends ain't serving you, I probably said that already twice, cut them the fuck off. Let them go. Because all you're doing is harming yourself, and then the next thing you know, you're going to be unhappy. Your life is going to be affected in so many different ways. Your energy is going to be so wrong. and you're just going to start lashing out at people who aren't involved in the situation. So with that being said, stay sane, stay happy, and stay educated so that you don't have to be me and be wrong, and you can be Mason and always be right.
Boom.
Boop. Thank you guys. Tune in and remember to like, comment, and subscribe down below.